Soulwind TV presents.
Soulwind TV presents. You're listening to the Motherhood Tales, where we just get to talk and hang out and laugh and just connect and see what God has to say and the Bible has to say about being a mom, because being a mom is kingdom work. I want this to be just basically you having coffee with your best friend and us laughing and talking and relating, because we're raising kingdom kids and man, the world is rough out there. So grab a cup of coffee, a glass of water, whatever, and let's chat. Hello, lovelies. Allie here. We are back with another episode of the Mamahood Tales. Hope that you guys are having a fantastic day. I know I am. And of course, lots of life going around as well too. But man, we've got to find the good in the world, and we've got to find the good in the everyday, or we are going to go insane. Can I get an amen? So today, let's talk about something funny, just funny and relatable. You may have heard this term before called the invisible load, but we are talking all things the invisible load and other weird comments that we hear being moms to be, pregnant, whatever. Second time moms, third time moms, we all hear so many weird things, and sometimes we just want to come back with like really weird questions or responses, and sometimes we're just so shocked and flabbergasted at the things that we get told. Like, my goodness, I think we all can write a book on the weird comments, stories, whatever. But on the side note, the invisible load, like, this is becoming a real thing. I mean, it is a real thing, but my goodness. So what am I talking about? The invisible load. So part of the invisible load is, we're moms. We're wired a little differently, and there's some really cool chemistry behind what happens to your body, to your brain, to your DNA when you become pregnant. So you have what's called a fetal fraction rate, and when you are pregnant, your baby's DNA is detectable within your blood. And so that's how they're able to do like sneak peek gender reveal testing. That's how that all works. But also it is how the NIPT testing works as well too. So like you have to be far enough along, because the further along you are, the more fetal fraction rate is detected. And so it is insane. But like your DNA, your blood changes a little bit, and your blood is detected within your your baby's DNA is detected within your blood. There we go. What are words today? And so there's a lot of changes that happen, right? Like your maternal instincts, they start to kick in, and your intuition changes. Maybe you're led by Holy Spirit a little differently, along with all the other changes, like the body changes and everything, right? So there's a lot going on when it comes to motherhood, that is for sure. Well, on the other side of that is the fact that sometimes our brains are constantly going. And it used to just be for me, and then it became me and my husband, and then it became me and my husband, my daughter. And so of course that's going to change all over again, and is currently changing right now as I'm about halfway through this second pregnancy. And just a example, we're having dinner with my husband's mom and dad, and I'm playing with our daughter. They're all in there cooking, all those things. And my husband goes to cut up the zucchini so we can fry it up, zucchini and squash. And we do what's called baby-led weaning for my daughter. She's almost 9 months old now. And my rule of thumb is I'm a crunchy Christian mama. So my biggest rules of thumb when it comes to baby-led weaning is like no artificial dyes, added sugars, and then no added salts. You have to be able to squish it between your pointer and your thumb. And then it just has to be easy to grab onto. And so the best gauge that I tell people when they're preparing food and they offer her some is to make it about the size of your pointer finger, your index finger. And that's pretty easy for her to grab onto. And so he cuts the squash up and he slices it and then he cuts it into quarters. Totally fine and very delicious. And we're getting ready to sit down and I start like picking through the squash with the silverware. Obviously not my hands. We're a little bit more modern than that. And I'm looking for the large pieces. And he was like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm looking for the large pieces for our daughter so she can have some. And he was like, oh my goodness, I didn't even think about that. And, you know, total like, whoop, no big deal. And it truly is no big deal because we found some large pieces for her to try, and side note, she was not a fan of zucchini or squash that day, so we'll try that again in the future. But it's just one of those little small things because as moms, like, we already know 5 steps ahead. We're already always thinking so far ahead into the future. We know the rest of the day, what it's going to look like for the most part, right? Like, we have those off days, of course, but our brains are just going and we're constantly thinking about, well, what can I do to set myself up for success in the future, to deal with kiddos and deal with all of this stuff, what's going to be best for them. I even make appointments, like we'll go to the chiropractor and the chiropractor is like, oh, do you want this time? And I'm like, nope, because it's so crucial to me that we get that first good solid nap in of the day. And, you know, I just set my day up that way now. And of course, everyone is different because, like I've said, part of parenting, part of living life, parent or not parent, is finding what works best for you and for your family. So anyways, this invisible load, like we are constantly always thinking about it. And it's not like a conscious thing even. It's like a subconscious, like there's some computer running in the back of our brains and we're like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Like we're just so programmed almost to be that way. And, you know, I'm going to say it was the same when it was just my husband and I, like constantly, I think it just comes from like a place of like, I love him, but I want to make his life better and I want to serve him in a Christ-like manner. And now it's that way for my daughter. Like I love her and I want to support her and help her flourish and show her Christ's love, because those are transferable skills that she's going to learn, right? So if you struggle with the invisible load, do not beat yourself up for it, but also give yourself grace and learn how to manage and adapt and just kind of flow with it. So let's talk about the funny part of the invisible load. I am talking about the person sees my husband for 5 seconds at a restaurant or out in public and he just gets so many ahs and oohs with my daughter and so many people coming up to him and yeah, like, you're such a great dad, and oh, she's so lucky to have you as a dad, or that's one good dad there. And you know, they're not wrong a single bit. My husband is an amazing father, and I have a feeling so many of you can totally identify with exactly what I'm saying right now. But meanwhile, I am with my daughter almost all the time, and my husband, he has a job that is wonderful and he does it to provide for our family, and that involves him being away for long periods of time, or what some may define as long periods of time. It's not as long as other periods. He's not in the military. He's a pilot for a major US airline. And so That being said, he'll be gone for 72 hours at a time. When he is home, he wants to be with her. He wants to be present. He wants to create those memories with her. And that is wonderful. And trust me, this mama appreciates it and appreciates a break. But what I find funny, and I'm just like scratching my head flabbergasted at, is when I am headed to Pilates class and I'm just having a simple conversation with a person, and they're like, what you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm headed to Pilates. And they're like, oh, where's your daughter? And I'm like, oh, she's at home with her dad. He's home right now. He's watching her. And they're like, oh, that's so nice. Mom gets a break. And I'm like, yeah. Or the comment that was specifically was, oh, so you're getting some time off. And I'm like, I don't really know if it's time off, because I feel like as a mom, you never really have time off, right? Like, you're always thinking about your children, and yeah, you do get breaks and you do need those breaks. But guess what? My husband isn't babysitting. My husband is being a dad. And the comments of, oh, dad's babysitting, like, no. He is not. He is being a dad. He's doing what he signed up for. We don't need to have that conversation about how it takes two, do we? Because, guys, like, come on. Or the other side of it, it just, man, it's so funny. I can be with my daughter 24/7 doing everything and being in a wonderful mom. She's in a great mood, whatever. And because I didn't do something, or I'm not doing something the way that somebody else did it for their kids, or the way they did it 30 years ago even, or how they would prefer for me to do it, I all of a sudden can be judged and ridiculed and whatever. Like, we have got to change that. We as Christians have got to change that, and also as a society. And I love the mentality and the saying, it takes a village, but I feel like especially here in America, despite, you know, some communities and some churches, whatever, that's not the mentality. Like, children here in America, it seems like they are to be seen and not heard. And it's like, oh, sorry, Charlie, made your bed, you can lie in it, right? And it just really bothers me. And so I'm trying so hard a more integrated approach. Like, my life does not revolve around my children. My children's life does not revolve around me. We come together and do life together because we are a family, and we do the best we can with what we have, and we make things work, and we love God and serve him first and foremost. So anyways, I feel like I got like on a soapbox there, but the invisible load and other weird comments. The other weird comments part, like, oof. So, funny story time for a transition, I guess. I love to shop, and I was at Marshall's the other day with my sweet little girl, and we were shopping around, and we walk into the store. Then I set her in the cart, and she moved her arms right as I went to buckle her into the cart. A majority of you can already guess what happened. I slightly pinched her little arm, and she looked at me, and I looked at her, and she started crying, and I felt awful. Picked her up instantly, trying to console her, right? It happens so much. And these sweet old ladies, or probably like 4 people, come up to me telling me how cute she was, and like, oh, I'm so sorry. But this one lady was like, I'm sorry, did your mom pinch you? And I just looked at her and I was like, I didn't mean to. It was a complete accident. She moved her arm. And then I'm like, I don't owe you an explanation, lady. Like, kids are kids are kids are kids. And that comment had me walk outside with my daughter so she could cry for a minute and I could cry for a second. And of course she doesn't mean it maliciously, and you know, goodness, just had a daughter almost 9 months ago, and I'm pregnant again, so of course there's a lot going on there. But it is hard, and we are even harder on ourselves than what we need to be. So, weird things that people say to moms, to expecting mamas to be. My first pregnancy, I got so many weird comments. So one, if you've ever been pregnant, you know that before you get a bump comes the pregnancy bloat, where you are so bloated due to all the hormones in your body and just everything shifting and changing and all those fun things. Well, I got the comment, did they get your due date wrong? And like, maybe you're further along than what they thought. Or are you sure it's just one? Maybe there's not like two in there? And I was like, no, like, I'm just bloated. Like, you've had a baby before. You know what it's like to go through that pre-pregnancy bloat. Or not the pre-pregnancy bloat, but like the early pregnancy bloat. Like, you know, why are you saying this stuff? And then you get into other weird comments, which can be hard because especially if you're a mama that's dealt with loss, like some of those comments can be really, really hard. So I was hearing that, and then a couple of weeks later, I got told, oh my goodness, you look so skinny. Like, you literally look like you're losing weight. Are you losing weight? Are you okay? Is everything fine? And I'm like, yeah, my body just handles things differently. Like, for whatever reason, I lost a lot of fat in some areas during my first pregnancy, but trust me, my belly was popping. Like, I lost it in others and I gained it in others. And so it's almost like we're policing people's bodies, or our bodies are getting policed, and we're getting told that, you know, like, we have to look this way or whatever, or there's the snapback culture, and it is so frustrating. And then just the other comments that come up. I remember being at my baby shower, one of my baby showers, and someone asking me, and during those fun little games we were playing, one of the questions was, who's going to change the most dirty diapers, like who's going to do X, Y, and Z, that kind of funny things. And like, your guests fill out their estimation, and I tell them my answer, and whoever answers what I answer gets a point to get a prize, right? It's like those cute little games. And so then that led to side conversation. Totally fine. Absolutely adore it. I love connecting and celebrating. And so someone asked, are you going to be nursing? And I was like, yeah, I am going to be nursing. You know, that's my goal, is to nurse and have a great supply. And that's my goal. And so when I said that, they were like, oh yeah, well, it's going to be mostly all you then. And I'm like, but it doesn't have to be that way. Just because that was your experience doesn't mean that it's my experience. And your husband can be so involved with that nursing journey as well. Like, my husband was washing pump parts and bringing me snacks and refilling my water and bringing baby girl to me. Like, it doesn't have to be that way. He was like helping me prop up my pillows. And I understand that, you know, not everyone has the exact same relationship I have, but I have learned communication is key. My husband is not a mind reader, and I'm not a mind reader. So if I don't tell him or ask him or communicate that I need something, or that I wish he was a little bit more attentive or supportive in this manner, then he's not going to know, right? But it is just so insanely funny. All the stories that we hear, the horror stories about having kids, and what I have found is that the horror stories about having kids and being pregnant and giving birth are so ungodly, it's not even funny. And I just have to say, like, Lord, no, I'm not going to entertain that. I'm not going to entertain those thoughts, and just really have to find Bible verses that resonate with me and just kind of cling to them. Am I right? So I hope you all had a good laugh. Hope that you were able to relate it to something, because the invisible load is a real thing, guys.
Are you feeling broken or lost? Are you struggling to find a community of like-minded women? Come join us on Soulwind, Shining Our Light Women's Inspiration Network. Soulwind women have come out victoriously from their dark places and now use their God-given gifts to shine their light to the whole world. Get your free 30-day trial today. Go to www.soulwind.tv to subscribe now.